that type of risk. Well, who's next? Well, it's obviously going to be Zuccarello. So I was at Delwood Country Club on Saturday, and the entire second part of this day golfing, the whole thing, I was on my phone texting, calling, and finally by the 17th hole, I said to my friend, I'm like, you got to take me to my car right now, because that's when I confirmed that Hartman and Zuccarello were essentially a done deal, and that's why I went so strong on it that night. But the second that Hartman became available, you just kind of had this sense that Paul would go after him, because I know that he has a lot of admiration for him, a lot of respect for him as a player. And then the second that Simmons, and that's kind of why I always tell you that a lot of this job is just reporter instinct. The second that I started through sources figuring out that they weren't really wanting to go after Simmons anymore, and I knew they were striking out on Pavelski, that's when you just really focus all your efforts on trying to figure out, all right, is Zuccarello coming here? And it was very clear to me on Saturday that he was.
Interesting. Hey, I want to thank Fixology Repair, fixologyrepair.com. They do jewelry, watch, and smartphone repairs. I know John had just told me they're doing a watch sale out at the Mall of America location, 3 locations, Mall of America, downtown St. Paul in the Skyway, downtown Minneapolis in the Skyway. And they do cleaning and polishing of jewelry, ring sizing, stone matching, necklace repair, bracelet repair, pearl and bead restringing, sterling silver repair. So it's not just for watches and smartphone and tablet repair. You can do a little bit of everything there. Fixologyrepair.com.
There are some things in life that you just can't live without. Now, whether it's a special piece of jewelry, a watch, or even your smartphone, you want it in working condition. At Fixology Repair, we are committed to restoring your pieces so that everything works or fits the way it ought to. Watch servicing, chain repair, and broken screen replacements are just a few of the services that we offer at our 2 locations, Mall of America and the Skyway in downtown Minneapolis. Please visit us at fixologyrepair.com or at fixologymn on Twitter to learn more. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount on our services.
All right, let's hit some Twitter questions. Well, actually, first let me ask you. I was going to ask you what you do over like the 4th of July weekend or 4th of July week when things aren't quite as hopping as they usually are. But it sounds like you're spending all your time at Delwood Country Club now.
I pretty much do. I was there yesterday on the 4th of July. I went to Canterbury yesterday too, which was fun. And then went down to White Bear Lake to watch fireworks. So really late in the day, got back from Canterbury. So it's been fun suddenly living on the east side of this metro, that's for sure.
Good. Yeah, I'm enjoying just having a house where I look out over wetlands. It's just beautiful, which is very different from the downtown living experience, even though I enjoyed that too. All right, from Russo Slacks, we're going to give him the first pitch here because you're selecting him. I did it just so I could get that sigh of yours on the record. From the Slacks.
Well, you know what I don't get is that he says that he can't make Photoshops anymore because he left his job.
Got fired from, you mean?
Yeah, which I don't know if you should be doing Photoshops at that job. But
maybe that's why he doesn't have that job anymore.
But aren't there like Photoshop apps? Not that I want to give him idea, but there's got to be apps that he can continue his vocation.
I think you should just drive out to his house and show him how he can Photoshop things.
I don't know how to Photoshop. I don't.
I actually knew that. Russo Slacks asks, which are your favorite fireworks, Michael? Snaps or sparklers? I think that's some kind of a shot, but I don't really know enough about fireworks.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure. He knows me well. He knows that I would never, ever try to light. I would blow my arm off. So that's clearly
actually, that's an idea.
A subtle shot.
Maybe we should try to set up some fireworks. Might be interesting.
Yeah, that's a subtle shot.
From Harold Johnson on Twitter, which of the young players does Russo think will take the biggest step forward in the coming year?
Well, I'll just say it this way. For the Wild to make the playoffs next year, when you look at every other team, not only in this conference, but the division, they need all of them. You know, we go back to those years where we always said, it's time for Coyle, Niederreiter, Zucker, and Granlund to take the next step and become go-to guys on this team. And for a large part in the regular season, they absolutely did that. There was a time where they developed. Well, now these guys are super young, all under 23. And it's time. I mean, it might be too much pressure on them, but where this team goes next season is not going to be where Koivu, Stahl, Suter, and Parise take them. It's going to have to be the internal improvement from guys like Fiala, Donato, Kunin, Eriksson-Ek, and Greenway. If they are going to get significant ice time, they're going to be relied upon to produce, or this team will not make the playoffs next year.
From James on Twitter, what's the latest on Mitchell Marner signing offer sheets?
I don't know. I mean, after the ill-advised Aho one the other day where Carolina clearly always was going to match that. I just don't think there's a way that to do it in terms of actually getting the team not to match. And so the Wild are certainly not going to do it. And you also have to be understanding that that these are lottery unprotected first round picks that you'd give up. So if you sign Marner to a deal that's more than $10.5 million, which would be the only way to get maybe to orchestrate something where Toronto can't match, there is absolutely the likelihood that you're going to have to, well, you would have to give up 4 first round picks in terms of compensation. And then could you imagine if you don't make the playoffs and you win the lottery and you just gave Toronto a top pick? Look at what just happened with Ottawa giving a top pick up to Colorado, and they wound up getting one of the best defensemen in the Western Hockey League in Byram. It's going to be an absolute guy, an absolute stud in the NHL. And then you look at Chicago, that goes from 12th, I think it was, up to 3rd. There's ways that you can not make the playoffs and win the lottery, and so it's a huge risk to go out and sign offer sheets. That's why you just never see it happen.
From Kyler, okay, does anybody know his pronunciation? Vasferet? Am I getting it right? I think this is one of those names I screw up every time.
I assume you're right.
Let's go with it. Any idea if Fenton is talking to... let me throw a couple more mispronunciations at you. Any idea if Fenton is talking to Vegas about Gusev or Edmonton about Puljujarvi?
Puljujarvi. I mean, nobody really seems to want Puljujarvi. And talking to people there, I see why. In terms of Gusev, I mean, this would be his 3rd team. I don't know how you get Gusev if you're the Minnesota Wild. You have to pay him. He's not coming to Vegas right now because he wants $4 million a year. They can't afford $4 million a year because they're at the cap, and they got to re-sign guys like Schultz and a couple other guys as well. Let me just look actually real quick at their roster and see who they've got to re-sign. So they're $2.5 million. And this guy wants that much. They're going to probably re-sign England, and then they got to re-sign RFAs, which won't be expensive. Subban and Schultz, who we don't even know if he'll be in the NHL, but they can't afford him. And so the only way to get him is pick some prospects. So all these people that keep on texting me or tweeting me, how about Zucker for Gusev? I think you're missing the point. There's a reason why they can't get Gusev signed. It's because he's asking for 4. Well, Zucker makes 5.5, and I don't think the Wild should be trading Zucker for Gusev and retaining money for a guy like Zucker, a 33 goal scorer, for an unproven guy in the NHL. Now Gusev's a hell of a talent, but I don't see right now how it would work for Minnesota to get in on that. And again, this is his 3rd team, so we'll see what happens with him. But right now, I just don't see how it's a fit right now for Minnesota.
Got to visit with Tony Hoagland out at the 3M Open earlier in the week. He takes some of his clients out to the TPC Twin Cities. I've played golf with him out there before. He also supplied tickets to the Friday round of 3M Open that we gave away last week. Really appreciate his support. Tony Hoagland, Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in the Twin Cities.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoagland. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been number 1 in car insurance since World War II and number 1 in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
From El Duderino on Twitter, why did Fenton trade the 3rd, preventing the offer sheet?
Because they're not doing an offer sheet. I mean, they are not giving anybody an offer sheet. It's that simple. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
From Nathan Olson, would Boudreau or the Wild organization realistically put Koivu on the 4th line? I can't see that.
No, I can't see that. Tony Abbott, one of our analytics writers, broached that subject today. But unless he's coming to camp and he sort of needs to be, inched into the lineup and slowly build up his ice time, I don't see him on the 4th line. The Wild are not taking their stalwart captain in the final year of his contract and putting him on the 4th line unless Boudreau's made to do that. And again, I don't care where he is in the lineup. If there's a big draw late in the game, Koivu's taking it, as he should, by the way. because there's nobody on the Wild that have shown that ability. The people on this, the fans out there that think that Mikko Koivu is absolutely meaningless to this team should look what happened to Eric Staal when Mikko Koivu went out. Eric Staal couldn't function on the ice in the last 35, 40 games of the season after Mikko's injury. Why? Because now all the matchups that Mikko takes, Staal was having to take. And it was absolutely affecting him to the point that we saw it on the ice. So, Mikko's going to get significant ice time on this team this season. And I just don't see it on the fourth line again unless the coach is absolutely forced to do that by people above them.
That's a great point about Staal. I probably hadn't thought about enough about why he was. I just thought he was having one of those old guy stretches where you fall off a little bit. But you're right, it was when Koivu was out.
Well, yeah, and that could have caused the old guy stretch. I mean, it's a totally different game for Eric Staal when Mikko's taking on the top players on the other team on a nightly basis.
Yeah, that makes
all
sense.
Of a sudden Eric Stahl's going out against much better, much worse matchups without Mikko in the lineup.
Thanks to BiteSquad.com, Bite Squad, the app, for sponsoring their program. Use the promo code TalkNorth for your first delivery fee waived. Deliver fresh food to you. It looks restaurant quality, and when it gets to your place, you don't have to do dishes. You don't have to park. You don't have to make reservations. You don't have to wait in line. You don't have to find. You have to deal with traffic or weather or anything else. They'll bring it to you. BiteSquad.com, Bite Squad, the app. Upload your information. It makes everything very easy. And again, Talk North is the code you use with first time you order through Bite Squad. From VHL, Simulation Hockey League, do you think Kerfoot might be the most valuable piece in the Barrie trade?
I don't know. It's funny. In the preseason last year, I remember Kerfoot lit up the Wild, the game that I was in Denver, and I tweeted out like this guy was going to have this huge breakout year for Colorado, and obviously that just didn't come into fruition. He's a good player. In terms of answering the question, if Toronto is unable to sign Tyson Barrie in a year, then Kerfoot's the most valuable piece in that. But if Barrie is extended and lives up to his expectations as a player, he's one hell of an offensive defenseman in the league. I still remember that guy when he was like 5-6 years old playing with Matchbox cars in the living room of a house that I was at in South Florida, because I was watching the trade deadline show one day on TSN with Jeff Rimmer, the Wild play-by-play guy, the Panthers play-by-play guy at the time, Len Barry, his dad, who played for the Panthers, Mike Sillinger, who played for the Panthers, and then there was like little Len Barry in the corner playing with his games. Tyson Barry. Now Tyson's an absolute stud in the NHL. Just shows how old I'm getting.
Yeah, we're both moving the same direction. I'm just moving faster. Yeah. From Kyle Bonds.
Just on another subject. So speaking of Tyson Barrie, so I was just talking to Spurgeon on the phone before we did this podcast, and I was looking at the free agents next year, defensemen. I mean, it is unbelievable the contract altering defensemen that could happen. I mean, this market could shift next year, which is why Spurgeon could be making a fortune if the Wild are able to resign him. But the right shot D that are going into the final year of their contracts this upcoming year are Alex Pietrangelo, Justin Schultz for the Penguins, Tyson Barrie, obviously Toronto, Mike Green, who's not the same player he once was when he was scoring gazillion goals a year from the back end for Washington. But Jared Spurgeon, Sammy Vatanen, Justin Falk, and then the left shot stud D are Torrey Krug, TJ Brody, and Roman Josi. So there are so many defensemen out there that are going to get paid here in the next, whether it's this summer or into next year. But the other thing it does is if it ever gets to the point where the Wild have to trade Spurgeon because they're unable to get a contract done, it also shows that there should be potentially, assuming that all those guys don't re-sign with their current teams, there should be replacements out there for the Wild general managers. So it's just kind of interesting. I talked to Spurgeon a lot. I'll do a big story for next week on it, but I talked to him about the extension and what he's thinking, and it should be a good story next week.
From Kyle Bonstrom, will the NHL ever go to team or player options in contracts like Major League Baseball does?
They used to have that pre-2004-5 CBA. They got out of it in this current CBA. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's because they have a hard cap, so they felt like they need to have almost fiscal guarantees. Everybody kind of knows exactly, there's a resolute idea of exactly what is going to be your payroll if you project it out 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. I don't think it would be a bad deal. A perfect example, and maybe this is what's leading to the